Now that we talked about tuning QRadar, let's talk some more tuning tips and best practices in regards to QRaw itself. So first and foremost, data sources do matter. QRaw works best on data that works from local to remote. Remote to local data is best. So it is best to make sure you have log sources that are traveling across your boundary of your network and have those events and flows, flowing in so that QRock can get access to them. Um, so a good example of these obviously is the boundary firewall, the proxies, the IPS. And to go with that, the third bullet down here is make sure your network hierarchy is accurate. Because if you don't have your network hierarchy mapped properly, um, QRadar itself is not going to know what's local, and it's going to think that things are potentially going remote to remote. So if you ever see an event or a flow that's designated remote to remote, then obviously you have to fix something in your network hierarchy. So it's very important to do that. And another reason why the network hierarchy is important because when you look at a node inside the graph, when you click on it, it'll actually tell you what part of the network. So, for instance, you might have a senior um, member of your team who knows the network backwards and forwards and off the top of his head, but someone new might not know the network and how it's laid out. Um, and by doing that, they'll be able to click on the node and find out what part of the network it belongs to, and it will really help them along. Um, the second bullet that I skipped over, implement and map custom properties. So after you add data sources, you have to look at the data sources, the log sources, and see if there's any custom properties um, that aren't mapped by default. On the next slide, I'm going to talk more about custom properties. So I'm just going to say that's very important. Um, so the next one for the best practice is use automatic investigations. So QRaw has the ability to actually run investigations automatically. You can do this on a bunch of different factors, including event category, offense severity, and so on and so forth. But it'll really help out your SOC team by defining those rules such that when someone starts their shift or comes in the morning and there's something that they need investigated, it'll be done for them already, and those first initial steps will be done for them already, and they can start their deep dive into it, having all the dots connected for them, and they can start into the investigation right away. Um, so QRadar Advisor for Watson does leverage third-party threat intelligence. That's part of the Watson for Cybersecurity or the SaaS portion. However, if you have your local threat intelligence that can be exported into a blacklist or a whitelist um, into into a reference set, you can connect those reference sets to QRadar Advisor with Watson, such that those nodes, if it finds a match, will show up in the graph, and then you can investigate it more and get a bigger picture of what's going on. Kind of the next bullet in relation to the first one is that the QRaw will do best on local to remote, remote to local offenses, just because it'll grab the IOCs of the data, and then it'll actually correlate it against the threat intelligence and the corpus of knowledge, and using the cognitive ability of Watson for cybersecurity, it'll give you a picture of the external threat. If someone is just doing certain behaviors back and forth, and there's no IOCs for advisor to look up and correlate, you might not get the best results. So advisor works best on local to remote or remote to local offenses. And this in the last bullet should be a no-brainer. If you have a lot of known false positives, meaning that you have offenses coming in, but you being the senior SOC analyst or a SOC analyst says, oh, we know this is a false positive, we have to just tune a certain criteria of the rule, or we have to just go make a configuration change on the device. Obviously, you don't want that to be investigated. You want to save your investigations for known problems of known offenses that are known that offenses that are known not to be false positive that they really need investigation.